Ooh, I'm almost giddy because I have documents to show you. So stick with me, folks. We're going to go through some stuff that just came out on Tuesday. Hey everybody, this is Deb with Truthification Chronicles, and for those who are new to the channel, you don't understand my exuberance because I love finding these documents and seeing what's really going on behind the scenes, and I've got a couple to share with you, so I'm so excited about it. Okay, the first one we're going to start out with is based on this article right here, which says, Watchdog says FBI violations with FISA warrants went beyond Russia probe. And I'm going to leave this down below because some of the stuff in here is really not what we're covering, but it's very important too because Inspector General Horowitz, y'all know him, right? He put out a memo and it's actually 17 pages long, which I thought that was kind of fun, 17 pages, but was released Tuesday and sent to Christopher Wray. So it's all about the Woods procedures, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute. But if you go through this article, there's more to it in this, and I really thought this was a good article, but let's go to the actual document, because that's the good part, right? Okay, so the name of this document is Management Advisory Memorandum for the Director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation regarding the execution of Woods procedures for applications filed with the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court relating to U.S. persons. Whew! It's a big mouthful. I can't get through it in one breath there. But this is an IG report. It looks similar up here to the IG report that you're used to. Remember that each department or each of the major departments has an IG. So this just happens to be the one for the DOJ, which is where, the FBI is located. And so that's what this is basically dealing with. And that would be Michael Horowitz. And it was just put out here, see, March 2020. So, yep, just came out. And so here is the memo dated March 30th. And it is to Christopher Wray, and it is from Michael Horowitz here. He even signed it. There he is. And this is what it's called, which is the big name that I just read. So, as you are aware, in December 2019, my office issued a report examining 4 Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act applications, an initial application and 3 renewal applications. Well, yeah, that is true, but actually they mentioned 4 in there. If you look at the first page of text in that document, you'll see that they list 4, and that was Flynn, Page, Papadopoulos, and Manafort. They're all 4 listed in there, but the focus of that particular one was Carter Page, okay? And that was because of the targeting a U.S. person and other aspects of the Federal Bureau of Investigation's Crossfire Hurricane investigation, okay? And that was put out in December 2019. So, as detailed in our report, among other things, we identified fundamental and serious errors in the agent's conduct of the FBI Factual Accuracy Review procedures, which is called the Woods procedures, with regard to all 4 FISA applications. Okay, now, if you continue on with this, the Woods thing, if you don't know what the Woods file is, that is the documentation for the factual assertions contained in the FISA applications. So that is the file that's supposed to have all of the documentation. Everything that's put into a FISA warrant application has to be backed up in the Woods file. But that's not what was happening. Oh no. And that's what this is kind of focusing in on, because not only are they dealing with the Carter Page one, which is what they dealt with before, but they're also looking at some others. And there's some interesting things about this. Now, you'll notice that they use this term, confidential human source, and that's CHS. So that's somebody who was a human who was giving information and the source of their information on those particular things. That's going to come up in just a minute, so hang on to that idea. Okay, so it says here, we found further that the FBI had failed to follow its policies for re-verifying factual assertions made in the initial FISA application that were also included in the 3 FISA renewal applications. So not only did they have problems with the first one, that they weren't verifying things, but they also didn't do it in any of the follow-ups. So this is, kind of big, but as they're going through this, I want to point out a few things to you. Like I said, it's 17 pages long. Well, it's not technically, there's other documents, but I'll show you those in just a minute. But I want to show you this, that they were looking at this and they said they were, as an initial step in our audit over the past 2 months, we visited 8 FBI field offices of varying sizes and reviewed a judgmentally selected sample of 29 applications relating to U.S. persons and involving both counterintelligence and counterterrorism investigations. This sample was selected from a data set provided by the FBI that contained, look at this, more than 700 applications relating to U.S. persons submitted by those 8 field offices over a 5-year period. 700! Yeah, that just seems like an awful lot. 700 American citizens they wanted to surveil. Gotta wonder what they were doing. Well, we know what they were doing. So anyway, as this goes on, and that's what they did. They took out 29 and used them as samples. We reviewed these applications and met with available case agents or supervisors who were responsible for them to assess whether the FBI complied with its Woods procedures for FISA applications submitted to the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court. We also obtained and reviewed information from the FBI and the Department of Justice's National Security Division, you're going to see that a lot too, NSD, about their FISA application oversight mechanisms. Specifically, in addition to interviewing FBI and NSD officials, we reviewed 34 FBI and NSD accuracy review reports covering the period from October 2014 to September 2019. Okay, now these accuracy review reports that they went through, see, he's telling what all they reviewed here. And these accuracy review reports were supposed to be something where it was a check and balance type thing. So every so often they were supposed to have people in the FBI who would go around to these different offices and would take one of the files and check it to make sure it was being done correctly. And that was not being done, okay? Well, it was being done, but what they would do is they'd give them a heads up before they did it. So, like, if anything was missing, oh, by the way, we're going to be by and we're going to check that Woods file for that particular case, so make sure it's all there. So in other words, they were letting them know ahead of time so they could make sure that one was okay. Yeah, that's what they were doing. If you go through all of this, it's really pretty incredible when you start looking at it. Look at this one. Our lack of confidence that the Woods procedures are working as intended stems primarily from the fact that, 1, we could not review original Woods files for 4 of the 29 selected FISA applications because the FBI has not been able to locate them, and in 3 of these instances did not know if they ever existed. So they didn't even have a Woods file. And the Woods file is like essential to this. They have to have it before they can put in a warrant because it's the documentation for it. And so if they couldn't even locate 3 of them, if they don't even know if they existed, it's like, what? Did they make it all up? Which right now I'm kind of thinking maybe they did. So yeah, that's one of it. Well, anyway, and 2, our testing of FISA applications to the associated Woods files identified apparent errors or inadequately supported facts in all of the 25 applications we reviewed, and interviews to date with available agents or supervisors in field offices generally have confirmed the issues we identified. This is not just being wrong in some. This is being wrong in every single one. They had errors. They had inadequately supported facts or apparent errors. Now think about that. They're building cases against us, against American citizens. And they're not even supporting their accusations by putting it down in the Woods file. They're not including that. So inadequately supported facts. Isn't that what you want to be arrested by? Somebody who has inadequately supported facts or apparent errors. Oh, scary, scary. And then it goes on and says, 3, existing FBI and NSD oversight mechanisms have also identified deficiencies in documentary support and application accuracies that are similar to those that we have observed to date. And there he's talking about in the Carter Page one that they already did. Number 4, FBI and NSD officials we interviewed indicated to us that there were no efforts by the FBI to use existing FBI and NSD oversight mechanisms to perform comprehensive strategic assessments of the efficacy of the Woods procedures or FISA accuracy, to include identifying the need for enhancements to training and improvements in the process or increased accountability measures. No, we don't want to be accountable to anyone. Don't make us. Well, in this initial review, they're not actually saying this is right or this is wrong, because this memo right here is not the full review. This is just their initial ideas, I guess, the initial findings that they have. So they wanted to make sure that they're not judging whether they are identified, the errors or concerns we identified were material. Also, we do not speculate as to whether the potential errors would have influenced the decision to file the application. So they're kind of hedging right there, but you also have to understand what the purpose of the IG is. I mean, their role is very specific. They're not there to actually make accusations of right and wrong. What they do is say, these are the policies of the Department of Justice, of the FBI specifically here, and these are the things they're not doing. That's pretty much what the IG does. They don't have a lot of teeth. That's why it was so important to team up Horowitz here with Huber and other U.S. attorneys who could have the teeth that they'd be able to impanel grand juries and so forth. And that is what's happening right now, and we just don't see it yet. But it's been going on. So anyway, going on with this, nevertheless, we believe that a deficiency in the FBI's efforts to support the factual statements in FISA applications through its Woods procedures undermines the FBI's ability to achieve its, quote, scrupulously accurate standard for FISA applications. Because that's what they claim. Yeah, we have a scrupulously accurate standard. Right. We are providing you with this management advisory memorandum because we believe this information about our preliminary results will help inform the FBI in its ongoing efforts to address the recommendations included in our December 2019 FISA report. And because we believe our audit work to date warrants additional OIG recommendations, which we have included in this memorandum. So this is not finished yet. This is a work in progress. As I understand it, it keeps saying that throughout this. So Horowitz is still at work examining what all they're doing and the procedures of the FBI. But they found enough things that they thought it was worth relaying that information to Christopher Wray so he could be working on that and start to implement some things to fix that. And so here it says the FBI implemented its Woods procedures in 2001 following errors in numerous FISA applications submitted to the FISC in FBI counterterrorism investigations. The stated purposes of the Woods procedures are to minimize factual inaccuracies in FISA applications and to ensure that statements contained in applications are, quote, scrupulously accurate. FBI policy requires the case agent who will be requesting the FISA application to create and maintain an accuracy subfile, known as a Woods file, that contains 1. Supporting documentation for every factual assertion contained in a FISA application, and 2. Supporting documentation and the results of required database searches and other verifications. Following the creation of the Woods file, the case agent signs the FD 1079 FISA verification form, the Woods form, to affirm, quote, the accuracy of each and every factual assertion and that backup documentation for each such fact has been retained in the Woods file, except for the ones that they lost. Now, keep in mind, this is like the FBI. Don't you think it's bad if they can't find some of their own files? I mean, really, isn't that who's supposed to be like the best people in the world to find things? But, oh no, can't find our own documents. And then they have the supervisory agent is also required to sign the form, confirming that the supervisory special agent has reviewed the Woods file and determined that it contains supporting documentation. So they're supposed to have this supporting documentation for every factual assertion. But that's not what happened. And that's not what's been going on. Not at all. But down here, look at this. According to interviews we conducted with FBI and NSD officials, the reviews these entities performed, which were the ones that were supposed to go in and check them every so often at the different field offices, are not focused on assessing compliance with the Wood procedures or the adequacy of the Woods file. Instead, these reviews are focused on determining whether support exists at the time of the FBI, CDC, or NSD OI review for each factual assertion in the FISA application under review. So in other words, like I said, they were telling them ahead of time, we're going to come and we're going to examine this particular file, so make sure everything's in the Woods file. So there was nothing that they were doing that was going to help improve the FBI. Oh no, it was just to give them a heads up so everything looked good on paper. So anyway, then we go on to this, and this is the preliminary review that they're talking about, remember? And down here it says, although reports related to 3 of the 42 FISA applications did not identify any deficiencies, the reports covering the remaining 39 applications identified a total of about 390 issues, including unverified, inaccurate, or inadequately supported facts, as well as typographical errors. I wonder if the typographical errors were their way of hiding things from the FOIA requests, because we all know about Corny, right? Yep, we definitely do. They were changing the way they were spelled all over the place. These things are still under review, a lot of this stuff. And then I want to go down and show you this. Back to the 29 FISA applications. So although all 29 FISA applications that we selected for review were required by FBI policy to have Woods files created by the case agent and reviewed by the supervisory special agent, we have identified 4 applications for which, as of the date of this memorandum, the FBI either has been unable to locate the Woods file that was prepared at the time of the application, or for which FBI personnel suggested a Woods file was not completed. So that is big. That's a big thing. Like I said, that was repeated a couple times just because the FBI itself couldn't find their own files and they weren't keeping up the files. Which means they could go to the FISA court and they could say just about anything, basically, that, 4 of them didn't even have Woods files, or at least they couldn't find them. Really crazy. And then it says down here that this one, some of them had 20 issues, an average of about 20 issues per application reviewed, with a high of approximately 65 issues in one application and less than 5 issues in another application. So one of them wasn't too bad, but 65, that's like huge. Wow. And then down here it talks about the confidential human sources that they were using. Well, they had like a check on that they were supposed to be doing, where not only would they put the information about that person in the Woods file and everything, but it had to be verified what that person said, like the credibility of it had to be verified by another FBI agent, a supervisor. Well, they were skipping over that too. Oh yeah. And about half of these applications we reviewed contained facts attributed to CHSs, and for many of them we found that the Woods file lacked documentation attesting to these 2 requirements. And the requirements were that this individual has reviewed the facts presented in the FISA application regarding the CHS's reliability and background, and 2, based on a review of the CHS file documentation, the facts presented in the FISA application are accurate. So that's what the supervisor was supposed to be saying. And they were supposed to sign off on that, attesting to that being true. They were skipping over that. They were getting the person who was getting the confidential human source to verify, oh yeah, that person's valid. Yep, give them a thumbs up. So, that's how Christopher Steele got in there. Because nobody had to sign off and say, yeah, he's a valid source. So Anyway, after this, then it goes down. There's one more I want to show you. And here's the end of it, and it shows who all these people were that received this. It's quite a list, actually. Yeah, several of them. All kinds of associate deputy attorney generals and senior counsel to the deputy attorney general and assistant attorney general. Oh, I didn't know. Before I got into all of this, I had no idea there were so many different people working in our government. I mean, I knew there were a lot of people, but oh, wow. Anyway, let's go down to this one. This is then Christopher Wray's response. Well, it's not really his response. It's not from him technically. It's from like an assistant type person. So this is the FBI response to everything. And basically he says, you know, we put a bunch of stuff into action after we had that big report that you put out in December. We put a lot of things in action. We're changing things. We're making it all better. So that's essentially what this letter is. And then down below, after this one, I know you hate it when I scroll like that. But it really is. These are the things we've implemented, and we think that's going to take care of things. Yeah, this is the guy here. He's the Associate Deputy Director, Paul Abbott, or Abate, or whatever. And then after that is one more attachment here, and this is a memorandum to Michael Horowitz from Bradley Weinsheimer, who is the Associate Deputy Attorney General. He has very nice handwriting, if that's really his handwriting. Oh. But yeah, he's from the DOJ, and he's essentially saying, yeah, I think they're working on it. So, not much there. But anyway, the total PDF file here is 17 pages long. But again, I'll leave it down below. I always leave my links down below because I'm not going to read the whole thing, but if you want to read it all, more power to you. It'll be down below. It's going to be in the description, so that means you may have to click a little triangle if you've got like a mobile device. Usually it's a little triangle you click, or maybe some dots or something, I don't know. But it'll pop open that description then, and you can see all the links. So I'll have that link down below too. And then I wanted to show you this because when that came out, then Jim Jordan read it, obviously, and he wrote a letter to Jerry Nadler because Nadler is totally oblivious to this whole Horowitz thing. Or, well, not really oblivious. He's stonewalling Jordan on this. He doesn't want to bring in Inspector General Horowitz in front of the Judiciary Committee. But yet, that's what they're supposed to do. You see, that's their oversight. They are supposed to have oversight of the FBI. And if these reports from the Inspector General are coming in about the FBI, they need to be on top of that. And they need to bring Horowitz in and talk to him about it and find out what he's got to say. They need to read these different reports as well. And this is just part of what they do. But, you know, our Congress has taken a little bit of a virus vacation, and I don't know if they're going to get back to work or not. It seems to me like this has never happened before. I mean, even back in 1918 when they had the Spanish flu, Congress worked through it. And I think they should be at least working there. You know, we have a lot of technology. There's no reason why they can't be at work too. But anyway, here is the letter. Unfortunately, when you click on these, it doesn't come up very big. So I'm going to have to use my program here with my photo program, which means it's going to be a little funky about navigating it, because sometimes I forget I have to actually pull it down. This is March 31st was when this came out, which is when I'm recording this actually, that night. And so here's the letter. He says, today the Justice Department Office of Inspector General issued a management advisory noting serious and widespread deficiencies in the Federal Bureau of Investigation's Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act application processes. Whew. Yeah, the acronyms are sometimes easier, but they are confusing, and so they always define them the first time that they use the term. So the OIG's management advisory, part of an ongoing audit of the FBI's FISA processes, follows the OIG's issuance of a detailed report in December 2019 that found the FBI had abused the FISA process to surveil then-candidate Donald J. Trump's campaign associate, Carter Page. That report found 17 significant errors or omissions and 51 wrong or unsupported factual assertions in the applications to surveil Mr. Page. Because of the pervasiveness and seriousness of the FISA application deficiencies and the pending reauthorization of FISA, we renew our request that you invite Inspector General Michael Horowitz to testify at a public hearing promptly when the House returns to session. So he's been asking for this. I mean, they really should be doing it. This is part of their oversight. This is what they're supposed to do in the House. But Nadler does not want Horowitz in there because he knows what he's going to say. And so he goes on and he talks about it. And he talks about the, specifically the OIG found unsupported, uncorroborated, or inconsistent information in the Woods files of all 25 surveillance applications on U.S. persons that the OIG reviewed. Remember, there were 29, but 4 of them they couldn't find. And so of all the 25 that they did review, remember, they found all of them had problems with the information. So the FBI was unable to even locate the Woods files. And so then he goes on and he says the early findings noted in the management advisory undercut FBI leadership's stated confidence in the FISA process. During his transcribed interview with the committee in December 2018, former FBI Director James Comey heralded the FBI's FISA operations as a, quote, labor-intensive and supervision-heavy process with an emphasis on high standards. Mr. Comey labeled it a top-tier FBI program. Current FBI Director Christopher Wray similarly testified to the committee last month that Americans should not lose any sleep over the vast majority FISA applications. In contrast, however, the OIG Management Advisory found that, quote, 39 applications identified a total of about 390 issues, including unverified, inaccurate, or inadequately supported facts, as well as typographical errors. So a lot of this is what we just covered, but also remember that after the OIG released its report in December 2019, documenting FBI misconduct in surveilling Mr. Page, the presiding judge of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court, Rosemary Collier, questioned the integrity of the FBI's other FISA surveillance applications on U.S. persons. In a highly unusual public order, she wrote this: the FBI's handling of the Carter Page applications as portrayed in the OIG report was antithetical to the heightened duty of candor to the FISC in ex parte proceedings. The frequency with which representations made by the FBI personnel turned out to be unsupported or contradicted by information in their possession, and with which they withheld information detrimental to their case, calls into question whether information contained in other FBI applications is reliable. The FISC expects the government to provide complete and accurate information in every filing with the court. Without it, the FISC cannot properly ensure that the government conducts electronic surveillance for foreign intelligence purposes only when there is a sufficient factual basis. The preliminary findings in the OIG Management Advisory validate Judge Collier's concerns about the reliability of information contained in applications to surveil U.S. persons. As the Congress continues to consider reauthorization of and needed reforms to the FISA process, the committee must first fully understand the scope and nature of the FBI's errors and deficiencies in the FISA application process. Oh, Jim, you're using logic. Jerry can't understand that. No. So the committee must not allow the FBI's extraordinary power to electronically surveil Americans to be so haphazardly rubber-stamped with incorrect, unsubstantiated, or erroneous supporting information. So we have urged you in the past to invite Inspector General Horowitz to testify about the FBI's FISA processes. You have so far declined to do so. In light of the OIG's management advisory, we hope you will reconsider. We look forward to working with you to schedule a hearing with Inspector General Horowitz as soon as possible when the House returns to session. Thank you for your prompt attention. So we'll see what happens. I'm not sure he's going to get anything out of that, but he did send a copy to Barr, Horowitz, and Ray. So I thought that was kind of good. You go, Jim. I hope you get some response. I'm not expecting that to happen, but because I think they're gearing up for, because I think the Democrats are gearing up for another impeachment. They're going to try to turn Trump's handling of this entire virus thing on its head, but we'll see what happens. It's going to be interesting time. So that's what this is right here, and you can see all of them, but like I said, when you bring them up, they come up really small, so I had to just download them and save a copy and then use my program. So there you go on that. And then this last article I want to leave you with. The DOJ's FISA report contradicts claims by Dems media figures that surveillance rules were strictly observed. Of course, we know that's true, right? Because if you look at it, everything that's in that memo, everything that was in the report in December, all of that stuff is saying, you guys, the FBI leaders, and I put that in quotes, okay? Like Comey and McCabe and all of those guys, and all of these media personalities and all this CIA media personalities who have, thrown their hat in the ring with the lamestream media, all of them are wrong. Definitely wrong. And this FISA report, this new one, again, just reconfirms it because they're lying through their teeth. And Horowitz has exposed it yet again. And I want to remind you that he has no teeth, so all he can do is put his report out. From there, it's going to have to go to the Department of Justice to be able to prosecute anyone. But I think all of this is coming out now because it's waking people up to the fact that our FBI did some pretty bad stuff. And they were surveilling U.S. citizens right and left without actual factual reasons. They didn't have the documentation to back it up. That should scare every American citizen. I don't care which side of the aisle you are on. It should scare everybody, because if they want to, they can surveil you. Because frankly, they can just make it up and then lose the Woods file. Yeah, they don't even have to produce a Woods file. So, yeah, it's kind of scary, isn't it? But we're getting down to the bottom of it. I think the Durham report's going to be part of that too. There's a lot going on. So this is a good article to read. The other article was good. And I'll put everything down below and you can have that information at your disposal. Remember, I give you these because, you know me, I'm a teacher. And I want to provide you with tools so you can go out and you can share with other people, because we need to spread the news. We've got to get this information out because we are the news now, right? So that's what I've got for you on this one. I want to thank you for stopping by, and I'll see y'all later.